What is going on, everybody? My name is Jay, this is Unplayable, and today I'm going to be doing the first video in a series that I'm going to call the Game Stack. Now, the Game Stack is going to be a series of videos where I review multiple games in a single video. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying these aren't good games. I'm not saying these games are bad. I just can't contribute a whole video or multiple videos to a single game all the time. What this series is intended for is so that I can still give a spotlight to the different games that I've played or enjoyed, or that I can't dedicate an entire video for, but I still want to give some spotlight. So that's what I'm going to do here today. Now let's get started. The first game I'm going to talk about is Gnome Hollow. Gnome Hollow is a tile placement game where you and your opponents are going to be placing tiles, placing gnomes, collecting mushrooms, and trying to score victory points. Let's start with the production. Now, the production of this game is really fantastic. For starters, they have these metal and magnet pieces. So your player board is a type of magnet board, and the little wooden cylinders have magnets in them, so when you put them in a spot, they stay there because they're magnetized. So wicked. I hope more games do something like this. The artwork is solid. The theme is gnomes. I think gnomes are cool. Gnomes are definitely the in thing right now. You go to TJ Maxx or Home Goods or Target, you're gonna see gnomes all over the place. Gnomes are popular. And gnomes, I think they're pretty cool. So I think the theme here is fine. And there is a ton of theme in the rulebook. There is so much flavor text. There's like a journal and journal entries of this person who has discovered gnomes and is watching them and seeing what they're doing. So that's cool. There's also, you're playing as different gnomes. So there's flavor text for all the different kind of pairs together. I think that's cool. The tiles and the paths that happen when you place tiles and connect paths, they look nice. The production is a good product. So your turn structure looks like this. You get to choose 2 tiles from the market area. You place those 2 tiles, and then you resolve any effects if you completed a ring of the path, kind of like Carcassonne or something like that. And then you can move a gnome. You start with 2 gnomes, and you only ever have 2 gnomes, but the gnomes can go and do different things, sell at the market, reserve you a path, collect flowers, or if there's little signposts out, you can place them there to gain mushrooms. If you go to the market, you can sell the different mushrooms, all kind of set collection where it's all the same mushroom. And there's this market board where if you sell 5 of the red mushrooms, you put it there and you get something or points, etc. It's pretty straightforward. And on paper, this is the kind of game that I feel like I really should have liked. I'm not big on tile placement, but this is one that I was willing to give a chance. I thought, you know, you can place your gnome to reserve paths so no one can complete your path for you or mess with you in that way. I was wrong about that. I thought, you know, you're collecting mushrooms and then you get to do kind of worker placement, go to these different signs to get more mushrooms, go to the market to sell your mushrooms and get points. I thought all of this stuff sounded really neat on paper, and then it kind of just fell a little flat for me. I don't think the game's terrible. It's just not a game for me. I did also find that if you're playing with people that want to make this game really mean, you can make this game super mean. Even if you reserve paths, your opponents can decide, you know, I'm going to make this path super impossible for you to complete. And that really bites. That if you're playing with someone that does that, it makes this game really not fun to play. Now, obviously that's a player problem. If you're playing with people that are kind of doing their own thing, it's not a big deal. And the game does flow at a pretty decent pace. Keep that in mind. As you complete bigger rings and different sized rings, you're going to be taking bonuses that you get for completing, you know, a 7-tile ring or a 6-tile ring or a 5-tile ring. That stuff is cool. And there are 2 variants. There is like an advanced variant where you flip it over. Instead of trying to complete just any 7-tile ring, you have to complete specific configurations. I don't think I would ever want to play that way because my opponents can just really screw up what I'm trying to do. And then there's another one where when you go to the signposts, you can use this trading board so that you can use what you get to trade for other mushrooms. I think that variant is fine, that one works, but I don't think I like the advanced variant. So overall, I don't think it's a bad game, and I think a lot of people will like it. I think it'll appeal to a ton of people. Just at the end of the day, it's not my kind of game, unfortunately, and I thought it was going to be, so it's a big bummer, but that doesn't mean you won't like it. I'm giving this a 6.5 on BGG. So there you have it. Let's go to the next one. Next up, I have Middle Ages. This is a game from Studio H and a game that my dad got at Gen Con. Now I was super intrigued in playing this game. It's a kind of very streamlined tile drafting game. It's not tile placement, it's tile drafting, which is also kind of just action selection drafting. It's really neat though. I think that some of the concepts here are cool, but let's start with the production. I think the artwork is stellar. I really like the artwork of this game for whatever reason. I like the art on the tiles. I like the art on the box. I think the box is a really pretty box. I like the way they cut out the different tiles and the way they kind of fit together when you're placing them into your tableau. I think the production is solid. Now, what you're doing is every round, every kind of season, there's 4 rounds where you're going to be going and drafting one tile from 4 different sections, one at a time. And then at the end of that, you will resolve an event. And then we go back to the top and we draft 4 more tiles, resolve an event, and you do that 4 times. So you're going to be drafting 16 tiles. The different tiles do different things. So you can get money. You're always going to get money, and money is the victory points for the game. Whoever has the most money at the end of the game is going to be the winner. There's a whole slew of different things that the different tiles do based on what you take. So one, all of them are going to give you money. One lets you get extra money. One lets you take tiles that you can upgrade your different slots with extra ways to get money or extra money for different tiles that you have. There's the barracks where you get to destroy other people's tiles if they don't have enough ramparts, which is kind of a defense. The ramparts give you money, but also they prepare defenses, so when people do take the barracks, you don't get buildings destroyed. There's the market that gives you money based on different icons that you have, treasure icons that you have. They're all very straightforward. There's the mill. The mill lets you steal 2 coins from everybody that doesn't have as many mills as you do. It is a little take-thatty. It's a lot more take-thatty than I thought it was going to be when I first saw it laying on a table at Gen Con or the back of the box. It is a little more take-thatty than I want it to be. Especially, my biggest gripe with the game is if in the first round there's barracks and no ramparts to defend. That feels really bad, especially not knowing, or having never played it before, not knowing how it works. It can lead to a really feels bad situation. But subsequent plays, once I've learned how everything works, it doesn't feel as bad as it did the first time I played it. I think the cadence here is really interesting, where you have a miniature on the first row, or you place it there to take the tile. Whoever took the furthest one to the left is going to choose the tile for the next round, and then so on. So the further away that the tiles are, the more valuable they are. So the later into turn order you're going to be going. And you can kind of calculate what you want to take based on what turn order you want to be to take from the following row. There's also the events at the end of each season that you see and you can kind of prepare for, so that you can earn extra money. I think there's a lot of cool mechanisms in this game. I think that the cadence is really nice. I like the tableau engine building feel that you get. I think the level Take That knocks it down at least a whole point for me, unfortunately. If there was only 1 tile that did Take That, but there's 2, feels kind of bad. So for that reason, I'm gonna give this one a 7.5. It's not a bad game. I really do enjoy playing it, and I think it's grown on me a little bit more after the first time I played it, but I don't think it's gonna be for everybody. I think a lot of people are not going to like this game because of the level of Take That exists. So bear that in mind when you play this game. 7.5 for me. That is Middle Ages. Next up, I'm going to be talking about Mythic Mischief. Mythic Mischief is an asymmetrical abstract game like chess. I consider this a modernized abstract game. It's got a really cool theme. It's got insanely great production, from the artwork to the miniatures to the player boards to the dice to the tokens that go out on the board and the actual board itself. I mean, this is a great package. The people at Ivy Studio, whoever does their package design, their artwork design, their graphic design, really knows what they're doing, because this game is insanely, like, up there for me in terms of production. Now, what are you doing in this game? In this game, you want to get your opponent caught by the Tome Keeper. So you're in this kind of library, in this fantasy school, think Harry Potter or something like that. A little more fantastical even than Harry Potter, where there's trolls, goblins, ghosts, vampires, all this stuff. And you are in the library trying to collect tomes, but also trying to get your opponent caught by the Tome Keeper. The first person to get one of their opponent's pieces caught by the Tome Keeper 10 times is going to be the one that wins. Now, the way you do this is you're going to be using special abilities that each faction has. Each faction, you place 3 people on the board, 3 miniatures. So there's going to be 6 miniatures on the board, and then there's going to be the Tome Keeper. The Tome Keeper has a set path. The Tome Keeper will take the closest, fastest way to get to different stop points or waypoints. In this game, you're going to be moving bookshelves, choosing which way the Tome Keeper gets to go. You're going to be moving your miniatures and then moving your opponent's miniatures, distracting the Tome Keeper, doing all these really cool thematic things that are unique to your faction. It just works so well. And there is an app version of this game that is phenomenal. I play the app version all the time. In fact, if you ever have a question of whether something works, you can set it up in the app and then try to do it as that faction, which I have done several times. I actually almost prefer playing this in the app because you get to move things and then you can just undo and try different ways to do things. However, it does generate a lot of analysis paralysis, which I think the board game does as well, because there's so many different ways that you can try to manipulate the board and your pieces, your opponent's pieces, and the Tome Keeper to try and score as many possible points on a single turn as you can. So that would be a detractor for this game. And if you're playing against someone that is just super good at this game, it's like playing chess. It's like playing a newbie chess player playing against a grandmaster chess player. It might not even be fun. So you want to try to play with people that take the game super casually, which I do. I think Mythic Mischief is actually a very good game, one that I would consider covering on the channel and doing deep dives into the strategy of the different factions. That is Mythic Mischief. I'm going to give this one an 8.5. Next up, we have a game called Faraway from Pandasaurus Games. Now, Faraway is a small box card game that I actually taught Mike from the channel and his brother and D-House and Jim. I think I taught all of them how to play this game at Gen Con. It's a very small card box with a stack of cards, and on your turn, you're going to be drafting a card and then playing a card into your tableau. Once you've played, I think it's 8 cards. I think you play 8 cards. It might be 10, but I'm almost positive it's 8. It's been a while since I played it. Once you've played 8 cards into your tableau, you're gonna flip them all upside down, and then starting at the end, you're gonna be flipping them, scoring, flipping, scoring, flipping, scoring, flipping, scoring. It is one of those games that you have got to play it once in order to really understand how to do it, which is okay. The awesome thing is you can just play it, and in 15 minutes, you get to the end, see exactly what happens, and then you can just run it back. It does not take long to play, and once you've played it one time, you'll understand how it works, and then you'll be able to play better on your subsequent turns. It's so quick, so enjoyable, trying to optimize and score as much as you can. I love games like this. Streamlined, interesting, quirky, not hard to teach. I say not hard to teach because it's really not hard to teach, but grasping what it actually means is going to take you that first play. So you're drafting the cards, playing a card. Once you've played the 8, you literally go from the end with everything face down, flip and score it. So it'll say, you know, score 4 points for every blue square in your journey so far. So you're only scoring that first card. Then you flip it and it'll say, you know, score 3 points for every green triangle in your journey. So you're going to score the one that you just flipped plus the one that you flipped on the last turn if they have the green triangles, and then you flip the next one and then the next one, but you're drafting it in the opposite direction. So it's this very weird crescendo that when you get to the end, you're like, oh, this is how it works. This is how it works. I get it. So I think this game really is neat. One worth checking out. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10 on BGG. Let's go to the next one. Last up, we've got Monumental. Now, Monumental is from Funforge Games. who actually just recently sold Takenoko, which is a super popular game. I bought this on Amazon for Prime Day. It was down to $15, but for a long time I've been wanting to try this game, so I figured let's get it, try it. And I did. This game is a Civilization style game. Very light for a Civilization game, but it's also a deck builder and area control. The area control is like Small World. It's very deterministic to where you add the base strength of the location with however many tokens they have there for their race, and you have to use more than that to take over that space. Very Small World-ish. The deck building is generic deck building, using resources to buy new cards, different types of cards, and then using the resources that it provides to move on the map. The unique twist in this game is that you're gonna have a 3x3 grid of 9 cards. You're gonna flip them out from your deck, and then you're gonna choose a card, and you're gonna trigger every card in that row and in that column. You get to see a lot more cards at a single time, but also the decision space of choosing which card to activate and which row to column to activate is really interesting, because you can kind of combine cards to do different things. You can use, and then at the end of the round, when you've used all those cards, they're gonna go to your discard pile. You're gonna refresh that grid. There are ways to reinforce cards, which lets you keep that card ready. There are knowledge cards that you're going to be placing out, which are going to give you basically 2 cards in a single spot because they attach to another card that's in that spot. You're going to be building wonders. Now the theme, actually, and funny enough, the first time I played it, it was kind of lost on me. I was lost in the mechanisms of the game, which isn't a bad thing. I just didn't see the theme of the game when I was playing. It felt very mechanical, which I don't mind sometimes, especially with a game like this. Now, as far as I know, the expansions add very asymmetric factions, where in the base game, all of the factions feel probably a little too similar for my liking. I feel like they could have made them a lot more asymmetrical, but you're only scoring 4 things in this game. You're scoring points for culture cards, you're scoring points for, which I'll talk about in a second, you're scoring points for wonders that you've built, you're scoring points for area that you control, and you're scoring points for knowledge cards that you've added to your deck. Culture cards are an interesting decision point in this game because your faction starts with a stack of them. It costs 1 culture, which is a resource that you gain, to play the first one, 2 culture to play the second one, 3 culture to play the third one. But as you play them, 1, it covers the previous one. So the passive ability you had on the previous one goes away and you have a new one out. So deciding when in the game to play which culture card to get the best use out of the passive ability is an interesting decision, but also you trigger all of the kind of immediate bonuses that you get from all of the culture cards that you've played before. And then you also score points at the end of the game for the culture cards. So culture cards feel like they're pretty strong, and I didn't take advantage of that in my first game. Then you also score points for all of the different areas and sections that you have the most or that you control. You can build wonders throughout the game, which are just cards like regular cards that go in your deck, except you get to put a wonder on the board. And then the science knowledge cards that you can purchase, which are kind of the ones where I said it kind of gives you an extra card in a single slot on the grid so that you get extra stuff when you activate that slot in your grid. So you don't score a lot in this game. Scores are very low. And one thing that we found in playing is, and we played the regular version, there is a version where you can play 1 action at a time, which I've not played yet. I've only played the regular version where you take your whole turn and then it goes to the next person, you just go around until the game ends. We found whoever gets to go last, if they're able to generate a ton of war or the war resource, they can take over a bunch of lands so that they score the extra points at the end of the game. I don't think that's actually an issue because on a secondary play, we were defending kind of our outside areas, so that's a lot harder to penetrate our controlled areas. So I don't know. I think the game is interesting. It has a interesting cadence. There's a ton of downtime, more downtime than I would like. I don't think I would ever want to play this game with 3 players. There is a ton of downtime between turns because on your turn, you're activating, moving pieces, gaining cards. You're doing a lot on a single turn. But overall, I think the game is rather enjoyable. I think that the engine building is fun, the deck building is fun, the grid system is cool and interesting and gives you a lot of decision points. I like Small World as a game, so I kind of like that mechanic when it comes to the area control on the actual board. There's a lot about this game that I really like. Something about it, I haven't played the expansion. I think I need to play the expansions with the variable players and some of the modules that come in the game. But I think I hesitate to give this game a really high rating because something about it isn't drawing me in as much as I would like. So I think overall, I'm gonna give this game about an 8, maybe a 7.5. You'll have to check my VGG account and see what I land on. But that's my thoughts about Monumental. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please leave a comment if you like any of these games or if you have any thoughts on these games, and if this is something you would like to see in the future. Either way, thank you so much, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.